right, we have King. These boys are both Percheron draft horses. They each weigh right at 2,000 pounds, and they can pull up to 6 times their body weight on wheels. So altogether, these boys could pull right at 24,000 pounds. I promise y'all we are nowhere near that, unless you've been to Paula Dean's or something.
We have.
Where are you?
I don't know any difference.
I'll tell you a little bit more about King and Cheney here. These boys are both originally from Central Ohio, from the Amish community there. While they were there, they were plowing fields, pulling logs out of the woods, things like that. They do have a much easier job here in Savannah, whether they know it or not. They have a full health and dental plan and a 401k plan with our company, so they're pretty excited about that. After they left Ohio, they moved up the East Coast around the New Jersey area there. They were in a show hitch, pretty show horses. Now they're much more sophisticated city horses now. So. And I'm originally from Vidalia, Georgia, where all the onions come from. Well, I'm going to start out by telling you guys a little bit about the background information on the city, and then we'll get into all the good stuff. How's that?
Good.
All right. Savannah is a very old city. We were founded back in 1733 by a man named James Edward Oglethorpe. He was originally from England, and he had this whole city planned out on paper before he came here. So we are credited with being the first pre-planned city in Georgia. Now, the main reason that we were founded here in Savannah was to be a debtors colony. What I mean by that is back in the 1730s in England, debtors' prisons were very common. That is, of course, where you would go if you owed somebody money. The trick was it was almost impossible for you to get out once you were there because they charged you room and board. Did not make much sense. Mr. Oglethorpe had a very close friend named Robert Castell. The guy published a book and it fell through. And for that, they threw him in the debtor's prison. And he actually caught smallpox from a prisoner that he was housed with. And that's eventually what took him. Georgia. We do produce about 1/5 of the nation's total granite and marble, even more than New Hampshire, and they're the granite state. I tell people that's okay though, because there are 2 counties in South Carolina that grow more peaches than the whole state of Georgia, and we're the peach state. Now, the square that we're coming into here, this is Wright Square. I thought that you guys might like to know that on your right here, this row of buildings that you're seeing is built on top of the first burial grounds in Savannah. If you don't believe me, there's even a plaque on the wall there. See, not kidding. Wright Square here, though, the monument in the middle is for a man named William Washington Gordon. He founded the Central of Georgia Railroad Company. Now, Tomachichi, the Indian chief I was telling you about, his body lies directly beneath Mr. Gordon's monument. Now, Tomachichi's monument used to stand there, but they tore it down to make way for Gordon's. Gordon's daughter, Miss Nellie Kinsey Gordon, had the big... Now, they say if you run around the boulder 3 times and say, Tomachichi, what are you doing? He will say nothing. That's where Woodrow Wilson was married. His wife's grandfather was the pastor at the time. The steeple of this church is our tallest point in Savannah at 227 feet. You'll be able to see it better in a moment. That's also the steeple from the opening scenes of Forrest Gump when the feather floats around the steeple.
Oh!
I take it you're familiar.
Yeah.
The beginning of the movie, the feather does float around the steeple there, floats right across the street we're going down now, Bull Street, and lands straight up ahead of us there where the Chippewa Square sign is, where the roped off area is. This is where Forrest Gump sat on the bench and ate his box of chocolate.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Now you will notice that the bench is not there anymore. It's actually in our visitor center now on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. You go to see it, they won't let you sit on it or take a picture of it. They will sell you one. So I would suggest that y'all just sit on any bench in the city, take a picture, tell everybody that's where you sat, they'll never know. And there's the better view of the steeple there to your right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, coming up on the right here, this red brick building with the green awning here, that is the Foley House Inn. Very nice bed and breakfast downtown. Whoa, voted number 8 out of the top 10 most romantic bed and breakfasts in America. Don't really know why though, because when they tore down the wall in between that stucco building and the brick one to join the two, they found a body in the wall.
Oh.
They think it was Miss Foley's boyfriend. Her husband was a brick mason. So. No hatred there at all. And up on the right there, your Georgia right, your left, in the middle of Chippewa Square. That monument, that is not Captain Morgan or Jack Sparrow. Sorry, guys. That is our founder, James Edward Oglethorpe. Now you will notice that he is facing south the way we're going down Bull Street now. The reasoning for that is that with any military monument anywhere in the world, they're all set to face their enemy, walk chains. And in this case, it was the Spanish in Florida. So there you go. Now coming up on the right here with the little phone booth outside is the Sixpence Pub. It was featured in the movie Something to Talk About with Julia Roberts and Dennis Quaid, where she finds her husband having dinner with another woman. So if you are familiar with it, there you go. If you're not familiar with that movie, now you have to go back and watch it and think about your awesome tour guide that took you there. You're welcome. Now Savannah is a very popular spot for movies being filmed here. Some movies that you might be familiar with include The General's Daughter with John Travolta, The Conspirator with Mel Gibson, Glory, Woo with Denzel Washington, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Forrest Gump, The Roots miniseries.
It's supposed to be really good.
And I'm sure you've all seen Return of the Swamp Thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes?
I think so.
I haven't either, I'm just kidding.
What's the last thing?
One of those 1960s indie budget and walk on. Thank you very much, sir. I have to let them think it was their idea.
They're cute.
Now, coming up on our right here, guys, notice this little building with all the architecture that really stands out. This was built as a horse stable for the Georgia Hussars. They were a cavalry base here in Savannah. This man named Henry Ford bought that building from them, and that was one of the first showrooms for the Model T on the East Coast. He liked to showcase his Model Ts in horse stables because he believed that the horse and carriage would eventually be ruled out by the automobile, which obviously he lied.
Yeah.
A really cool thing about him as well, the Spanish moss we have here in the trees, it does contain little red bugs or chiggers, and they will leave you with an awful rash. Henry Ford didn't know that when he came here, and he started stuffing the seats of his Model Ts with it. You ever heard that phrase, aren't you itching to get a Ford? Come on, boys. Fanny walk. Walk. On the right here, this orange house with the green ironwork. This is the old Sorrel Wheat House. Robert E. Lee stayed here on his way through Savannah. And also, this house was featured on the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunter show. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, there you go. Woo. Go on, Mercedes. Walk on. Now I do, if you guys do like haunted things, that's an awesome tour to take. You'll just have to tell me how it was. I'm not ever going back there. I do think it's pretty ironic that this house on the right with the ferns out front is where Sherman stayed when he came through Savannah. So it's a really good thing they weren't here at the same time. The Green Meldrum House there was built for a cost of $93,000 in 1853. Today that's equal to $3.25 million.
Wow.
So then in 1943, the St. John's Episcopal Church beside it bought that house, and that is their parish home now. Must be nice. I'm in the wrong line of work. Now the square that we're in here, this is Madison Square. Now the monument over to your left there in the middle of the square is for a man named Sergeant William Jasper. Sergeant Jasper was the only non-commissioned officer of the Revolution to have a monument built for him, and he has two of them. He has that one and one in Charleston. Now you'll see that he's holding a flag above his head there. Now the reasoning for that is that that's what he was famous for. During the siege of Savannah, which took place on October 9th, 1779, he captured our flag, and then about 20 minutes later, he was killed during battle. Oh, they're having something schmancy over here. Now here on our left, this is the Savannah College of Art and Design's first building they ever purchased when they started back in 1979. Nobody thought that a private art school was going to do well here in the South, which was a good assumption. Turns out that they are now the largest private art school in the country. They have a campus here, then one in Atlanta. Branching out, they even have one in Hong Kong and in Lacoste, France. So they're doing pretty good for themselves, I'd say. They actually have a historic preservation major. So the school will buy these old buildings, the students will fix them up, and then they're turned into classrooms or dorms or offices. All the doctors and lawyers and tour guides have all the houses taken, so. That was supposed to be like really funny. Thank you. Now, you guys will probably notice how we have all these second level entrances on these houses. Now the reason for this is you just have to think about how Savannah really was way back when. You know, the streets were not paved, the horses did not have to wear diapers like King and Cheney, and everything that was trash was thrown out of your windows. So you just have to think, it was pretty bad. So to prevent all that from being tried into your nice house, you build your entrance on your second or parlor floor so that by the time your guests got upstairs, all of that will be off of their clothes and shoes. I want you guys to take a look down at the red bricks that we're riding on here. Other than the ballast stones on the riverfront, this is the only other original section of street left in downtown. Easy, boys.
Yeah.
Woo. Now, this street was named after the Jones family. They were a real family. Came over here on the ship Anne with our founder, Oglethorpe, when the colony was first founded. Now, the Jones is a pretty funny thing, though. They had all passed on by the early 1800s. The street wasn't laid out until the 1840s. So I guess better late than never.
I can't believe those cars pass so close in front of those horses and everything.
You'd be very surprised at what these cars can do.
That's amazing.
Like I said, road rage. Walk on, boys. Good boys. Alright, now you guys will probably also notice how we have these ground level entrances right below the main level. Like this house coming up on the right there. You see the ground level entrance there. Now today most of them have been converted into apartments. Some of them even have a law office in them or a beauty salon, something like that, antique shop. You know, a lot of folks assumed that back in the day this is where your servants would have stayed, but that is not true. These entrances used to not be all enclosed. You'd be able to see right through that gate all the way back to your garden. This house coming up on the right there with the red door and all the black staircase and the black bricks. If you look through that one, you can still see it. This is how they would have looked way back when. There you go. Is anybody familiar with the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil deal?
No.
Okay. Just to enlighten you just a little bit, since people will probably laugh at you since you don't know. It's a book. First, it was a book. It's a true story based on a shooting. Whoa, not a murder, a shooting that happened here in Savannah in the 1980s. Main character of the book was a very well-renowned, well-known antique dealer here in town. Now, the restaurant right across the street from us there with the striped awning, that is where one of the characters in the book named Luther dined for breakfast every morning. Now, Luther, walk on. If he didn't eat for a few days, it was supposed to be something bad was going to happen. He was also supposedly going to poison the water supply there, but I've drank the water there and it's just fine. So you guys should definitely check out Carriage Cafe while you're in town. Now on our right here, you guys see all this greenery growing on the wall of this home. This is a plant called creeping fig. It is illegal to have ivy on your houses here in the historic district because, of course, it'll get into the bricks and crack them and destroy them. But you can have this creeping fig plant. They say that it just pulls off the wall like wallpaper, but it doesn't, so it'll probably be banned in a few months, too. Love those historic societies. Now, coming up on the right here, notice this plant with the pink flowers there. This is called oleander. If you've never seen it, that's what it is. If you don't know anything about it, the thing you need to know is that it is poisonous, very poisonous, every part of it. The bark, the roots, the leaves, everything. Now, when Sherman occupied our city during 1864 and 65, he had 64,000 troops with him. Now, they would just go up to anybody's house and and expect you to let them in and feed them a meal, give them a place to sleep. The ladies of the houses would gladly let them in and give them their meal, and before bedtime, they would give them a cup of oleander tea to help them relax. It actually simulated a heart attack, and it was untraceable. But I didn't tell you all that.
That's a good thing to know, maybe.
Take a baggie of that home.